Good morning, everyone. Welcome from wherever you are to this webinar, and thank you for tuning in. Uma Shalin is my name, System Consultant at Flaxen System Enterprise, and I'll be conducting this webinar together with my colleague who will introduce himself. So on today's webinar, we're going to look at bank reconciliation and currency revaluation, and it is a great opportunity to see how you can streamline your financial process and enhance understanding of these critical functions in some systems. So I will start us off with who we are as Flaxem. So Flaxem is an IT consulting company that partners with like-minded entities such as Infor and Microsoft to provide business management software solutions. We have over 16 years of experience in this industry, and we operate within East Africa, Africa, Middle East, and even beyond. We have our offices both in Nairobi, Kenya, and Kampala, Uganda, with a clientele base of over 100 clients in our platform. At Flaxem, we are able to maintain customer satisfaction through customer support services. We also offer training services to our clients, and this is done by our experienced professional staff at Flaxem. At Flaxem, we have a number of products that we offer. The main one being Infor SunSystems, which is a financial management system. We have the online document management system. It is a system designed to help you manage your documents online. We have the end-to-end e-procurement system. It is designed to help an organization or a business revolutionize their procurement process. We also have the ERP. It is a product of Microsoft that can be integrated with various business processes to manage operations efficiently. We also have the Smart HRMS. This handles the HR functions and helps organizations manage their workforce effectively. We also do web hosting, and finally, we also offer tailored software services designed to meet specific needs of an organization. So we have our contacts displayed to you on your screen in case you want to reach us for any inquiries, and also the addresses for our offices, both in Kenya and Uganda, are displayed for you. You can walk in if you have any inquiries. At this point, I'd like to welcome my colleague to take it up from here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Shalin, for that good intro. Yes, my name is Steven Achaki, a consultant at Flaxem, and I'll be taking you through today's webinar, where we're going to focus on bank reconciliation and also doing currency revaluation using SunSystems. So as people of finance and accounting, we know that reconciliation is basically one of the core processes in any business, where here you'll get a chance to compare transactions to make sure that all these transactions are accounted for. And also using reconciliation, you will be able to identify various errors, also prevent fraud. In that case, you'll be able to streamline your financial processes and also have a good cash management process. So today we are going to focus on bank reconciliation using SunSystems, and we are going to see how this process is going to be effective and how it can be able to help you take care of these tasks and process that comes at various intervals in our financial periods. So allow me to share my screen. Now, in SunSystems, those who have had an interaction with SunSystems, you know that SunSystems has up to 11 ledgers, where you can have different ledgers and assign them functionalities based on your processes of finance. So in my case, I have assigned ledger D to be my bank statement, where I'll be capturing my bank statement transactions so that I do not have duplication of these transactions in my actuals ledger. Now, before you can go ahead, we'll just have a brief check on our bank balance, both in our actuals ledger and in our bank statement. So if I do a run of this particular statement, let's say just do a very quick check, account balance inquiry, and I'm going to enter my code for this particular account. So I'll enter my account code here. And on assumptions, I want to do a reconciliation from the very first date of July to the transaction that took place on the very last day of that particular month. So here I'm going to specify period 7 of 2024 to capture transactions that took place in the month of July. So you can see, as it stands in my actual ledger, I have around 491 as my balance in the bank. And then when I change my budget now, using the function CBG, I'll go to budget D. You can see that is where I'll be uploading my bank statement. And then I'll basically do the same query, an account balance inquiry. So here I'll enter my bank code as it's created in SunSystems. And then I'll specify the same parameters here. I want only for period 7 of the year 2024. So let's here, I'll select everything and only select period 7 as my specific period for extraction. So you can see the bank balance as at the start of period 7 was 500. And during that period, transactions took place in the bank. And then you will now have to do a reconciliation to update what is in the cash book and what is in the bank. Now, you might be receiving these bank statements in different formats. May it be maybe a CSV, may it be just a simple Excel sheet, may it be different types of files that can be processed by the bank and then sent to you as a bank statement. And then, of course, you can have an interface which can be doing the interaction of converting these files to files that can be readable by the system and then posting that information to the system, and of course, having data security as the main point of view. Now, just a simple Excel here, where I'm going to show you the fluctuations in the accounts in that particular, the fluctuations in the balance in that particular account. So you can see opening, that is 1st of July, balance was 500,000. And we had some transactions that have been paid in. We have some interest, some checks, and some transactions that have been paid out. And then the closing balance was now 567,000. So you might be receiving this kind of information from the bank. And the various forms of, encryption files that you can also use, and these files that can be readable by the system for the purposes of posting this transaction to the bank ledger. And this is just one of them, where this information might not be of very importance to you because it is kind of jumbled up, but it's going to be read by the system, and then the specific accounts are going to be updated accordingly. Now, in my case, using an interface, I've processed my bank statement and came up with what? With a CSV file that I'm going to use to upload transactions to the system. So when I open this file, Same way, depending on how you process your transaction, you'll be able to see this kind of information. So like in this case, the transaction, the arrangement of the information might not be, of much importance to the naked eye, but this is what the system has been designed to read and then update the various ledgers in that particular case. Now, I will close that and then go back to the system and go to run a reconciliation. So under the ledgers, we have what we called reconciliation functions. And those reconciliation functions, if you're able to see where my cursor is hovering, we have reconciliation accounts, reconciliation profiles, and the reconciliation manager, which is now used to execute this reconciliation process. And just as I mentioned, this reconciliation is not specifically for bank reconciliation, but you can reconcile many kinds of transactions. And you can have a report on these transactions. You can be able to detect errors. You can be able to, correct these errors using the same. Now, reconciliations account, this is where you specify the accounts that are going to be used for purposes of reconciliations, where you specify the first window and the second window, and also enter various parameters of the accounts that are going to be used. And then you have the reconciliation profile. So here is where you create the different types of profiles. So you can have a bank reconciliation. Maybe you can have a reconciliation for the payroll where you'll be comparing the paid out amounts and the balances, or maybe comparing the previous periods and the future periods, or previous periods and the current period to see any differences in payments for maybe the employees, and you want a report for such kind of information. But in this case, I'll be focusing on the bank reconciliation, and under the profiles, you can be able to select various parameters for selection, matching, and also the allocation marker that you want to be assigned to these particular reconciliations, reconciliated, transactions. So the selection criteria, you can basically set a form where you will be identifying these particular transactions for selecting them for purposes of reconciliation. So for my case, I'll be using the account code, where I'll be entering my account code as my selection criteria. So you can have different selection criteria. You can have more than one, you can have only one, you can have transaction reference, transaction date, maybe a transaction period as the basis of selecting. Because these transactions have various information that differ from each other, but you might find one common aspect in all these transactions that can be used for purposes of reconciliation. We also have matching. Now, after matching, after selection, how do you want to match the bank and the cash book? This is also one way for you to do this particular process, where in my case, I'll be using transaction reference and the transaction amounts to be matching for me to be able to do an auto reconciliation process. Because this information can also be different for you. Maybe you might have certain information that is common in these transactions, and you can also use that as your basis for matching the transactions for purposes of what? Of doing this reconciliation. Now, after that, we now have what we call the reconciliation manager, and I'll just go ahead and run this reconciliation manager. I'll select my currency. I'm assuming I'm running this account in Kenyan shillings. And then I select my transaction period. I want from the first day of July all the way to 31st of the same month. And then selection here, as I said, I'll enter my account code, and then I'll do an extraction for this. So as it stands, you can see that there are no transactions that have taken place in Ledger D. That is the bank statement window. You can see here where my cursor is. So until we upload our bank statements, that is when we can be able to compare what we have in our Ledger D, that is the bank statement ledger, and in Ledger A, which is our actuals ledger. So using a function called transfer desk, you can use this to do an update to the system, or you can have also an automated function where the converted file using the interface can be uploaded automatically directly to the system. So depending on your workability. So for me, I'll go ahead, select TRD, that is transfer desk, shortcode for transfer desk. And then the transfer desk will load, and you can see that I have here a bank statement as one of the profiles which I'm going to use to update my ledger. So I'll select my business unit, and then you can see I'm going to post this data to what? To the ledger D. And then under file name, I'm going to select my upload file, that is the CSV file. Then after that, you can confirm that all the data for uploading is correct. And then after that, you will basically click on run this selected profile for automation. And after that, we expect an update in our bank ledger. And then we are going to see how we can now run this particular process. So as this is loading, okay, it has finished, and you can see that 16 lines have been posted to the system, and that is in ledger D. Now, when I go back to the system, I'll just close this transfer desk, go back to reconciliations, reconciliation manager. I'm going to cancel this and then refresh by extracting the data again. So currently you can see that we have some information in our bank statement. And when I go to the window where we have ledger D, you can see at the bottom right of the screen here in the ledger D, and again do a refresh of this, you can now be able to see that the balance has updated to around 567,000, just as it was in where? In our bank statement in Excel format. Now, sometimes when you are doing this kind of reconciliations, you might find transactions like interest, bank charges, maybe some notes were received on behalf of the company by the bank without the information of what? Of the accountant. So these kind of transactions will not be captured in the cash book. Like in my case, you can see we have some not received, bank interest, and service charge, which are not appearing in our cash book. So in this case, you can do a quick journal inquiry, because I believe most of the time, this you will have now to do what? To do an entry to the system. You can use the normal ledger entry, doing the manual entry, or you can also use what? You can also use an Excel template, and of course you can use what? The transfer desk to process this data and post it to the system. So we can see here that we have interest as the line number 7 of that journal number 2 and line number 8. We have service charge as line number 13, line number 14, and then the note also as 15 and 16. So you can go ahead and just by the click of a button, you can do a quick extraction of this data, and then you can post it to the system. Now, we know that SunSystems and Infor have an Excel add-in which helps you interact with the database of SunSystems. That is posting, amending that data, and also doing data extraction. And that is basically what you are going to do here. We are first going to extract the information and then manipulate the data in the system by doing what? By posting the correct amounts in the correct accounts in the actuals ledger. So here, I'll basically log into my Info Q&A. Specify the parameters, and then I'm going to run a simple report to extract this data. So I'm going to extract the information that is only relevant to me. That is the account code, the description for the transaction, the accounting period, transaction date, amounts, all the way to transaction references and the journal type that are going to be used to upload this information. So I can specify journal line number to pick from here. And as I said, I want line number what? Line number 7, line number 8, line number 14, line number 15, 16, and line number 17. Those are my lines of interest in this case. So after that, I'll basically map my selection to what is needed. We just clear this so that I can do a quick fresh selection here. So select the cell where I want to do my extraction. And then the journal number, as you recall, it was journal number 2. And of course, it's from ledger D, and it's from what? The table of ledgers, and I'll go ahead and do this extraction. So be able to see that we have some data that has been what? That has been extracted. So let me just go ahead and specify more information here. Bank interest note received. Let me confirm the note and number 15 and 16, right? So here is line number 15, 16. All right, so here it's 13 that is missing. So I'll select line number 13 here. And then do a quick refresh of this. So let's confirm these. We have line number 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So the same data is appearing in the system. Let's have 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, and 16. All right, so let's confirm here 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So we have a comma here. So you need to be very careful when you're doing this kind of information, because a single entry can lead to you not getting the information that is required. So I'll go ahead, select journal number, and then remap my selection in the lines and do an extraction. So just like that, you'll be able to do the extraction of what is needed from line number 7 all the way to line number what? To line number 16. Now, here we are now going to post this information to the system in the relevant account. For example, the entry for bank interest received, you will now enter the code as assigned in SunSystem for bank interest. For my case, the code is 38300. And then the code for not received, I'll also enter it as 15000. And then the code for service charge, I'll do the same. And then I'll enter, let me copy this, and then I'll enter 38200 as my account here. So as I said earlier, you saw that you can specify a specific matching criteria to these transactions. And these transactions, to be able to meet an automatic reconciliation, you must be able to have the transactions meet this set criteria. So for my case, let's say I'm going to amend some references here, and they say that specify this as period 007, and also add here 007 to capture my information for what? For both bank interest received, the note received, and the service charge. Then after that, you can see that the journal is now balancing, and then you can go ahead to do a data send and post this information to the system. So I'll be able to do that. Using the Excel. I know those of you who have interacted with the Infor Q&A, you know how this particular add-on is a very powerful add-on in Excel that can be able to really, make you work more comfortably and also make your work easier if you know how to use it. So I'll go ahead and confirm my selections so that they are all correct. I'll also confirm at the top. And then after that, you can see we are posting to ledger A. I'll go ahead and do a posting for this. So you can see that some 6 rows will be uploaded to the system. I'll click OK. And then this data is going to be posted to the system. So as we wait for it to post, we can just, okay, you can see the note has already been displayed here. So you can just expand this. You can see that 6 records imported successfully. And those 6 records are from this line all the way to the last line there. So going back to the system, you will have updated your cash book. And then all you need to do is just to refresh by doing another extraction for this data. And you can see now that we have transactions, complete transaction, both on our cash book and in our bank statement. And we can also go ahead and now do an auto reconcile. So you can see that the lines that are meeting my matching criteria have been selected for reconciliation, and the allocation marker has changed to reconcile. What is remaining is to post this information to the system. For the ones that are not meeting my matching criteria, because you can see for these ones, I amended my transaction reference. So you can go ahead and click on the specific lines that you want to reconcile. And then the system will reconcile these transactions accordingly. So you can see all my lines have been marked as what? As reconciled, and I can go ahead and post this data to the system. So a notification that you are about to make changes to the ledger, then you can click OK. And you can also have a report of these transactions that have been affected by the reconciliation process. Now, as the report is loading, and now this is the report here, and you can see the details for our window number 1, which is the bank statements, and window number 2, which is the cash book, and the amounts that have been reconciled in this session, both debits and credit in both windows. And of course, this is just a custom report. You can have this report in any format of display that you want, just to fit your organization policy. So going back to my financials inquiry in my ledger A, you can see at the bottom of the screen, the bottom right of the screen, this is ledger A. The balance is 491. When I do this refresh here, you can see now that the balance is tallying with what we have in our bank. And of course, you can have now the purposes of having these specific markers is for purposes of having a streamlined financial process and accounting processes in the system. you can go ahead and have reports of these kind of transactions. You can go ahead, maybe they're required for specific purposes, maybe audit and any other kind of work that can be needed for this kind of information, and the system will be there to make the work easier for you. Now, having this reconciliation done, you can do a quick account inquiry in the allocations, and you will select the account that you want. And you can also specify the transaction period that you want to see. I want to see what is reconciled only. And then I can do an extraction for this data. And here you can be able to see the transactions that have been reconciled. And you can also have a report of this kind of transactions if needed. This is the very simple way. Here is the report that has already been loaded. And this report can be used to make what? To make various financial decisions in the normal day-to-day business of any organization. Now, this is the very simple way of doing bank reconciliation using SunSystem, and the same idea can also be imported and used to do any type of reconciliation of transactions in the system. Now, having SunSystem is also advantageous in a way that multinational companies that deal with the different currencies at different periods, and you have an idea of the currency market where there is volatility each and every day. And as a company, you might need to know your balances in the bank, both in the foreign currencies and in the local currencies, to see if you're making a gain or a loss when it comes to foreign exchange. And you can use this information to also negotiate terms of payment or receipts from your suppliers and your debtors. Still under ledgers, we have what we call the ledger configuration. So under ledger configuration, we have what we call the revaluation profiles. That is the ledger revaluation profiles. And under the ledger revaluation profiles, you can see where my cursor is. Here is where you create your various revaluation profiles. So for my case, you can see I have this one set for specifically this demo, and I'll be converting from the source currency, which is the value 2. The value 2 is the transaction currency in SunSystems, and the target value is value 1. So comparing it to the base currency, which in assumption is the local currency where this business is situated. You can go ahead and specify various profiles that you want to customize. You can specify the account type. For me, I'm going to specify a creditor. You can specify, a balance sheet. Maybe you want to see balance of the bank to see if your bank balance has appreciated in relation to a specific currency, or the balance has, depreciated in value. That is, the local currency has depreciated in value, meaning you'll be having a loss in foreign exchange. You can also specify the account ranges. You can specify analysis and all type of information that you might need to acquire, as long as that data is existing in the system. Now, after that, we have what we call the transformation. So under the transformation is where you now carry the ledger evaluation process. So when you go there, you'll basically be able to see the profiles that have been created, and you'll select the profile which you want to run. And you can be able to see that this detail is marked as just what I had in my profile, GBP, the value from, the selection of creditor, the account that you are going to use to enter this data to the system. Now, there are two ways, using both Excel and using Infor and using SunSystem itself. So we're going to see both ways that you can do to be able to, take into consideration this currency revaluation. Now, still on my Excel, I have a sheet called currency revaluation here, and this is now narrows down to you how you can be able to, use your proficiency in Info Q&A to create some reports, or you can have a standard template and then trained on how to use this template. So for my case, this is just a simple overview of the idea, where I'll be having the business unit, the account, the name of that account, the transaction that I want to do to see to revalue from, that is the source currency, and then I'll be seeing the difference between the source currency and the target currency here. So you can see we have the period from and the period to. We have the currency rates in that period and also the currency rate to the period where we're going to do what? To do this revaluation. And here you can see that we have either a gain or a loss, and you have also an indicator to show you if you have a gain or a loss. And here you have also the transaction, the transaction period that you want to target, and the payable amount that is supposed to do what? That is supposed to be negotiated, either to pay now or to pay in future, depending on the favorability of the currency rates. Now, on assumption, I'm going to assume that I'm purchasing some services from Asian Consulting in period what? In period 6. And then I'll be checking to see the information that is in the system, if I can be able to have a view of whether I'm having a loss or a gain when it comes to currency revaluation. Now, before I can continue, I'll just go back to the system. And then since I'll be comparing to period 8, I can amend this and then have period 8 set as my current period so that I do not compare it with the previous period. Also, you can also have a wider range of comparison. You can see in period 7, in period 8, how these changes are coming up. Now, I'll select the account code and the account description. Then I can use my upload template. So this can be just a standard template that you can be using to upload your data to the system. And in this case, I can say that this is June. I can maintain the date here and then say this is the amount can remain, but I want to assume that this currency, the transaction that was used in this transaction was what? GBP. And of course, you can have the transaction reference. There, and then you can enter the corresponding account. So this information. And then you're going to debit the required account and also credit the corresponding account. So because you're doing enter the service from Asian, and then I'll copy that to the below cell. Because you're doing a purchase, and I'm assuming that this purchase of this service is on credit. So, and we know how to capture the double entry in accounting. We are going to credit our supplier and then go ahead and debit what? The corresponding account. So my account here will be 62, which is going to be posted in the system. So after this, you can go ahead and simply upload the data to the system, still using data send. I can load my definition here. And then confirm my information, ledger A, service information, that is already, that is okay. And then you can go ahead and do what? And do a posting to the system for these amounts. So we expect this information to be uploaded to the system. And you can see here under the comment section that we have some 2 records that have been imported successfully. So when I come here in my revaluation, my currency revaluation sheet, and then say that I want to compare what if we had decided to pay this amount in period 7. And then I'll simply do a refresh of this. And we'll be able to see, let me confirm my period. Okay, that is my period. You can go ahead to the system to confirm the journal details for that particular journal. So let's see the period. The accounting period is period 6, okay. Let's see here. I'll do a CBG change budget. As you remember, I was in the budget D. So I'll do a quick change of the budget and then go back to my actuals ledger so that you can be able to now see the journal inquiry. So here I'll do a quick journal inquiry again to confirm the details of that particular journal. I want to focus on the accounting period. All right, so this is period 7, that is okay. So we can go ahead and specify period 7 here as our base. What for this extraction, and then I can go ahead and refresh. So from here you can be able to see that we have some amounts the same as what we have in the system here. GBP 3547, and that is what we have here. So you can be able to see that if this amount was paid in period 7, this comparing it to period 6, this is what would have happened. But let's say now that I've entered this transaction in period 7, and then I want to compare it with what we are having in the current period. You'll be able to see if we pay it now, we are going to have a gain on this particular payment. And that gain is for 14,400 Kenyan shillings. And you can also change, let's say you anticipate a fluctuation in future periods. You can also have this kind of information in your hands, and you can simulate this payment and know the exact amount that you will suffer as foreign exchange gain or foreign exchange loss. So you can see if we wait and pay this amount in period 9, we will have a loss, a very huge loss of around 7838 Kenyan shillings. So you can use this kind of data to make comparisons and also negotiate with their suppliers and negotiate with their debtors on currencies on payment terms. And of course, you can also use the same to know your value in the bank or your value in any other form of balance that you might need to have this kind of information. So the same thing happens in the system. This is on what? On Excel. So let's go and see the same process in the system. Under ledger evaluations, I'll pick my profile, and then my base for revaluing will be period 8. If this you wish to post this information, you can select to post. If you just want to view the details for the same, you can select not post, and then you can have like a report for this particular transaction, and you can use it to also make financial decisions. And then you can print this information. And you'll be able to see, now that I decided to post, the system has posted the difference in the required account. And these are just the reports that are running. I have some 2 reports. Let me, both the general listing and the required report for this particular run for evaluation. Now, if I just expand this, you'll be able to see that we have some amount that has been posted in the system. And that amount is the difference that you are seeing in our Excel sheet of around 44, of around 14,400. That is the difference in period 7 and period what? And period 8. Yeah, of 14,400.82. So this is the very quick way of doing both, bank reconciliation and also handling the currency revaluation function using SunSystems. So at this point, I'll welcome my colleague back, Charlene, to take us through questions and answers if you have any, and we'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for that great presentation. So now it is time for questions. Please feel free to ask any questions, or if you'd like anything clarified, anything that you did not understand, you can ask. You can use the chat box, or you can raise your hand. Please feel free to ask any questions, or if you have a comment, you can raise your hand, then we can be able to enable you to unmute, or you can type in the chat box.
As I can see from the chat, Phyllis, hello, thank you for the presentation. How can we access the recording? The recordings are available. You can find these on our YouTube account, where we normally do an upload of these webinars, and you'll be able to have a recap of what we have done today. I can also see from Aaron, sorry, I joined late. The session recorded for reference? Yes, of course, just answering the same. The session was recorded, and this recording will be available on our YouTube handle. And I believe my colleague is going to elaborate more on how you'll be able to find this information when needed. I can also see another from Eddie. What version of documents stock bank statement can be uploaded to SunSystems? All right, so this will depend on what you want to use. And also, if that version is not compatible with SunSystems, you can always use an interface to do the file conversion, and then you can upload. Maybe a TXT file can be uploaded, CSV file can be uploaded, and HTML files can be accepted, but if that file is not compatible with the system, you can also seek a solution of having an interface to do the conversion for you, and then you can upload it to the system. I can also see another one from Nathaniel. Please share the recording. I believe being on public domain on YouTube, you'll be able to access this recording. I can also see another one from Wycliffe. Hello, Stephen and Flagzem, great presentation. Thank you. That is much appreciated. I can see from Isaac. Thanks for the presentation. If my bank sends PDF files, is there a possibility of using PDFs? So this kind of information, you can always export it to Excel. As you saw in my case here, I have an Excel sheet, a very simple sheet, where you can just put in this data, just a matter of copy pasting and then uploading it to the system. Very easy way. And we also have another one from Wycliffe. Kindly outline one security measure used to prevent fraud from a system bank reconciliation. Okay, so the main, as you know, as accountant, the main reason for bank reconciliation is identification of errors, prevention of maybe frauds, cash management. So let's say duplication. In a case where you are not doing bank reconciliation, you're just doing reconciliation of any other transaction. When you go to the reconciliation windows and then realize that there are some transactions that have been duplicated. So in this case, you'll have been able to identify this type of errors. And of course, when it narrows down to the security of documents, now that will also depend on the policy of the organization on how to preserve data integrity using specific encrypted files, file format that can be uploaded also to the system. I can see we have a hand raised from, I cannot see the name completely, but of course, if you are free, you can unmute and then ask your question. Kindly unmute and then you can ask your question. I can see a hand from Simao, so you can just unmute and then speak. And also have a hand from Musa. So Musa, either who is ready, you can unmute and then ask the question. And as we wait for those to ask the question, I can see there is another from Christine. Thank you for the presentation. How do we reconcile automatically when we have many transactions with the same figure? Should they get unique identifiers? Now, the figures might be the same, but when you're posting this transaction, we know lines of transaction have descriptions, they have references, they have maybe external documents that have been attached to them with the serial numbers. So using this kind of information, and as I said, you can select various types of matching criteria. And SunSystem is one system that is very customizable. You can add a field and then use that field for purposes of identification of these particular transactions. But of course, this is something that is very much doable using customization of the system. You can also see another one for Musa. Please share the contact so you can discuss further. No problem. My colleague is going to share this information with you very much shortly.
Hello.
Yes, if you are speaking, I can be able to hear you. Maybe just be more audible.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, it's me, Simon from Revaluation. I'm from Central Mission, Angola.
Thank you for reaching in.
Yeah, it was really good to
Yeah.
participate. And my question is, I don't know whether it's possible to schedule just or we can have your contact because it's a really interesting and we never done this. Maybe we can have a particular or separate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a bit of background noise, but I believe I might have captured the main point. Yes, and my colleague is going to share with you all our contacts for all our offices, and you'll be able to reach out. Yes, thank you very much for the. Yes, thank you. I can see another one from Christine. How do I get the recordings on YouTube? What name should I look for? The name is Flagsem System Enterprise, and the more information is going to be shared to you later on in the webinar. Thank you for the inquiry. So maybe I'll welcome some few, 2 or 3, if any, and then we can wind up this session for today. Thank you. All right, if there is no more, I want to appreciate you for your time as I welcome my colleague to take us through the next section of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, everyone, for your questions and your comments. So I would like to inform you that the recording for this session will be shared to you on your emails. So after this, our team from Flagsem will share with you the recording. So Simao and Musa, do you still have a question? Because I can see you still have your, Musa, you still have your hand raised. Do you have a question? Or you would like a clarification?
No more question.
Okay.
It's clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And there's also a comment from Jamal. Thanks a lot for the presentation. Thank you, Jamal. We appreciate that. We also have Andrew joined late. This is wonderful. Waiting to see the recordings. This sound version is great. So yes, Andrew, the recordings will be shared to you on your email. So after this session, we are going to be able to share with you the recordings. Our team from Flagsem is going to be able to share with you the recordings. So there are not being any other question or comments, I'd like to wind up this session. So we have our upcoming events for Info Q&A. It's an online training for Info Q&A from the 16th to 18th October. So if you're interested in learning more about Info Q&A, this is a great opportunity, and you can mark these dates in your calendar. So most of you have been asking how you can contact us. So the contact details are displayed for you in the screen. You can note it down, or you can take a screenshot or something. We also have our social media handles displayed for you. You can check us out and follow us so that you can always be notified whenever we have an event. And it is also a great means to interact with us. And you can also send us your inquiries or your questions in our email. The email is info@flagsem.com. You can also check out the products we offer as Flagsem on our website, www.flagsem.com. And our contact details are displayed for you. We have our offices both in Kenya and Uganda, and also the addresses are displayed for you, so you can also do a walk-in, and you can come if you have any clarification or any questions. You can come to us in our offices, or you can contact us through the contact details displayed for you. So I would like to give you 1 minute to be able to note down the contact details. Then we can proceed.
So that you can get an updated
So I hope we have noted down the contact details. Please feel free to contact us or even send us an email. So we have already implemented this system to some of our clients, and it is working perfectly. Thank you for attending this webinar. We look forward to engaging further and help you automate your bank reconciliation and currency revaluation process. And all this is happening at Fluxem System Enterprise. Thank you once again and be blessed. Have a good rest of the day.